welcome back to my channel. If you are new here and like the video, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button for more content. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, sorry that this is once again late. It has been a hot minute since we last did a gone wrong prank, so this is super exciting. With the last prank, which was the blind prank, it was really hard and kind of impossible to do a gone wrong without being like permanently blind or something, so yeah. Gone wrong allergy! So who do you think is going to go wrong? DaiSuga or UkaTake? While these pranks did sometimes offer good laughs and more times than not heart attacks, Daichi somewhat enjoyed these prank wars. Except for Suga's first attempt at a prank that was entirely gone wrong in every way possible. But the couple had moved past that traumatic experience and decided to make the best of things. Sugawara was still alive and recovering quite well. In addition, their relationship couldn't have been any better. They were flourishing together. It wouldn't be much longer until the stutter was back participating in practice and matches. Even still, Daichi was facing a new problem: what to do for the allergy prank. It was quite challenging, and he wasn't sure what he could pull off as a prank, and he certainly didn't want to go hardcore either. While he would like to go all out at least once, he wanted to make sure that his lover was fully recovered to do so. So he did what any other person would do and went to the internet. He admittedly didn't look much into it and rather chose one of the first allergies to be his. Supposedly, some immune systems can mistakenly identify certain protein in eggs harmful, which can develop into an allergic reaction. While those reactions can vary, some can be mild, such as a stomach bug. So he basically needed to pretend to be sick. That was something he could work with. Luckily, the couple had finished breakfast a few hours ago. The plus side was that they had scrambled eggs. This was the universe simply putting the pieces into place for him, an obvious sign to move on with the prank. Alright. He laid out onto the couch, on his stomach, moving his head slightly to the side so he wouldn't suffocate, waiting on Sugawara to come out from the bathroom. He was washing up, getting ready for the day, even though he didn't have any definite plans. He couldn't help but smile to himself, hearing his lover in the other room singing to himself. He was well aware of Koshi's passion when he graduates, and what he wanted to do. Hearing that kind, gentle voice didn't leave Daichi any doubt. Koshi would become one of the bestest teachers ever. He was already wonderful with kids. Being such a role model on the team was no different. Daichi froze and closed his eyes, hearing soft footsteps approaching closer. Dai? Where are you? The captain smiled, hearing a hint of confusion in the smaller's voice and his footsteps all over the place. In here. He made his voice lower than usual, with a certain strain. It wasn't much longer until Suga's head popped up from behind the entrance. Daichi? The brunette responded with a low groan, which snapped the smaller from his carefree approach and replaced his expression with a more worried and serious one. Dai, what's wrong? He crouched down beside the couch, already rubbing the taller's back. His touch could literally heal any ailment. And then again, that might just be his preference. I feel sick. As if on instinct, the setter's hand drew up to Daichi's forehead like a magnet attracted it. Well, it doesn't look like you're running a fever. That's good. Can you tell me what's bothering you? Daichi groaned once more, turning to his side with the assistance of Sugawara, and sucked in a breath. My stomach. I think I ate something bad. His acting was poor, but the latter was too blinded by his worry to even notice. He thought on what the brunette had recently eaten to ignite such an ailment. Was it breakfast? The eggs. He had to play it off. I think so. That doesn't make sense. I made sure everything was cooked thoroughly. At that same moment, Daichi's face contorted in pain, and he grasped onto his stomach, letting out an exaggerated gasp of air. Dai? In a matter of seconds, he was back to his lover's side, not sure what to do. What else besides your stomach? Even though there was a hint of panic, Koshi's voice resembled nothing than a serene tranquility that was calm enough to make the latter calm. I feel like I'm going to be sick. Sugawara knew he needed to move the taller into a more comfortable area, so once Daichi's display was over for the most part, the setter helped the latter up into a sitting position. Can you stand? Daichi lightly shook his head before putting his weight onto his heels, once again with the assistance of Sugawara. Even with the small height difference, Daichi was much more muscular than the smaller, making it more of a challenge to help him to the room. If you had asked him a couple months back before his accident, it would have been no problem. However, he had lost a lot of muscle and weight from just the recovery alone. There were even a few times Sugawara would lose his grip on Daichi altogether, or at times they would run into doorways. Eventually, they made it to Sugawara's bedroom, and he placed the captain onto his bed and grabbed his trash can, placing it by the bedside in case Daichi got sick and couldn't make it to the bathroom in time. Jeez, how did you manage to get so ill in just the time I was washing up? He pressed his hand against his lover's forehead once more, just to clarify if there was a fever or not. Well, it might just be a stomach bug. Unless you have an allergy I'm not aware about. It was meant as a joke, and he even laughed about it, but the taller's off-sided glance made him stop entirely. Daichi? That was a joke, right? Daichi was looking everywhere but his lover, wondering how much longer he could pull this off. The poster on Suga's wall was looking extra intriguing today. The setter gasped. What was it? He didn't respond. Daichi, what in the hell are you allergic to? Okay, he wasn't playing around anymore. He wouldn't be surprised if he would be put in the ER after this is over. But it was almost over. Eggs. Eggs. He remembered vividly the scrambled eggs he made this morning for breakfast. His eyes widened in horror. Sawamura Daichi! Why in the actual hell would you eat them, knowing you are allergic? His instincts were wanting to strangle the captain, but refrained from doing so, keeping in mind he was having an allergic reaction of sort. You already made it. I didn't want it to go to waste. The setter sighed. God, Daichi, I knew you were an idiot, but this is a whole new level. Hey. I don't want to hear it. Daichi glued his lips shut, not wanting to cross any more lines. He could already tell he was on thin ice. He glanced back towards the poster, now studying the small details. He could hear the smaller mumbling curse words and walking all over the room trying to find some medication. Koshi. He ignored the brunette. Sugar? He froze, still not turning towards him. Sugar, come here, please. He walked over with small steps and his head face down. It wasn't until he saw clear drops appear over Suga's bangs that Daichi dropped the prank entirely and sprung up from the bed, embracing his lover. Cole, baby, why are you crying? Daichi dragged his thumb underneath the smaller's eyes, wiping his tears. Feeling the taller's touch, Koshi broke down into Daichi's embrace, trembling. He messed up. Big time. He never meant to make his boyfriend cry. Not like this. I'm sorry. I'm just overwhelmed. I don't want anything bad to happen to you. He gasped for air, realizing he was rambling on without catching his breath. Daichi picked the setter up from off of the ground and sat him onto his lap on the bed. I don't want to lose you. His voice was so small, yet so broken, it made the guilt hit the captain like a brick. You won't lose me, I promise. He sighed. This was definitely a mistake. Even something as minor as this version of the prank was too harsh. This is just a prank. I'm fine. Koshi lifted his head up from his lover's shoulder. What? This is a prank. He was cut off with a harsh jab into the stomach, making him lose his breath and double over in pain. He grunted, but it didn't end there. Suga dug his elbow into Daichi's back right in between his ribs and twisted his arm. You dumbass! Why would you worry me like that? Oh yeah, he messed up. He'd never seen Suga's wrath quite like this. I'm sorry. It was another challenge by Koro. No excuse. His voice was low and almost demonic. But can you please remove your elbow? He yelled out, feeling his elbow dig even further before letting go entirely and shoving Daichi off of the bed. Sugawara stood up and walked out of the room, not before slamming the door shut. Oh fuck. Damn. He seemed really pissed. Of course, everyone has to deal with the consequences. Some are more severe than others. I got to fix this. You guys continue. Well then. Well, who wants to go next? I kinda really don't want to go. Thank you. Come again. No. I think you really should go. I agree. I don't get it. It's just a stupid prank. They are really ganging up on you, Sensei. I think we could benefit from this experience. As an adult, I'm sure you'll have more experience and know proper ways to deal with an allergic reaction that you can teach us. Damn, well said. I think we have our answer. This was by far probably the most stupidest thing he could think of doing. Of course he couldn't argue with Kyoko's reasoning. She is a bright girl after all. But that's besides the point. He couldn't do this. The thing was, Yukai suffered from a legit allergy that led to severe reactions on more than one occasion. This was like opening old wounds. I mean, this probably could benefit and be his coming out telling Takada his allergy. He had yet to do that, even though they are roommates. That probably should have been established from the start, since the aroma alone could send him into an attack. He used to all the time whenever he was in high school, since he had just been diagnosed with that allergy after a life-threatening attack that had everyone horrified and confused. So his teammates were always considerate and never had team parties that sold that thing that made him allergic. You might be asking what he is allergic to. Probably the worst thing to be allergic to in Japan: shellfish. Over 60% of Japanese foods is seafood, a good portion of that being shellfish. After his origin of his allergy back in high school, his parents debated on leaving the country since there was a high risk of him attaining a severe reaction. Luckily, they didn't, and Yukai became the coach of Karasuno after a certain teacher persisted on it. He never knew that that annoyance would turn into something like a crush. No, this was more than a crush. Yukai was in love with Takada. What are you thinking so deeply about? The two were walking side by side on a sidewalk to his apparent surprise lunch planned by Takada. The sentiment genuinely warmed the younger's heart and would make the most of it. Over lunch, he would continue to think on what to do with the prank. After all, there was no rush. Nothing much, just... he had to think quick. Thinking of some new approaches with the two lovebirds. Takada giggled, trying to think on who he might be referring to. Daichi and Sugawara? No. Asahi and Nishinoya? Nah. Tsukishima and Yamaguchi? Nope. Inoshida and Tanaka? No. I feel as if I made an error here. He laughed, realizing there was more to the duo. Ah, you mean Kageyama and Hinata. Yukai chuckled deeply, making a mental note to remember the team was basically 100% gay. He knew the two managers' fascination with each other and even sensed some chemistry between Kinoshita and Narita, so probably definitely gay. He probably should think over on his choice of words later down the road. Although, regardless, he expects a wedding invitation from all of them. Yeah. He laughed, finding the urge to link his fingers with the teacher's. Why was it so tempting, yet felt like a taboo to even think it was okay? He really needed to build the confidence soon, or he might go crazy. He made him crazy. Where are we going, by the way? He knew that they were getting lunch, but besides that, he wasn't even given a hint. Well, it's this new place that opened, that's all I'll tell you. He said that in an almost playful voice. Gosh, why was fate so cruel? Why couldn't he be his? That's kind of suspicious. Hey, I didn't mean it like that. He laughed. How could even his laugh be so frickin' beautiful? Alright, we're here. He looked at the restaurant and felt his blood go cold. Even the sign on the front illustrated types of fish he knew were bad for him. As much as he wanted to keep it from him to save for an actual explanation, he wasn't about to just walk in there and risk the possibility of him actually dying. Itatsu, I think we should find somewhere else to... He was cut off when the door swung open with some customers exiting the building, but that wasn't what made him stop squeaking. It was the aroma exiting the building, filling his nostrils. It made his stomach flip. He slapped his hand over his mouth and nose and backed up. Yukai? He wasn't sure if it was just his mind playing tricks from the sheer panic, but his chest already felt heavy. He backed up and turned around the corner of the store before involuntarily emptying his stomach and fell to his knees. Keishin? What's going on? He rushed to his side, but the toddler refused any help. He didn't want the person he loved to see him in such a state. Just go for help. Help? What do you mean? What a time to forget his EpiPen back at home. He repositioned himself against the wall. Supposedly, his skin was already showing those pesky red bumps. Takada seemed to put two and two together. You're having an allergic reaction, aren't you? Yukai nodded his head, not having much strength to do any more. The teacher cursed and pulled out his phone and dialed for help. While his phone was still ringing, he tried to make conversation to keep the coach going. Did you bring anything? No, it's at home. Why would you forget something like that? It was honestly a one-time mistake. He's usually quite good at remembering these types of things. Today just seems to be an exception. His hand was shaking, not by his own will. Takada took it in his, hating seeing the strong coach from before in such a vulnerable state. What are you allergic to? He honestly didn't want to say because he knew that the smaller would more than likely blame himself for this, but wasn't in any state of mind to filter himself. Shellfish. There was a small gasp from the teacher, but he was quick to shake it off, knowing that that wasn't what Yukai needed. He needed to move him away from this building, not too far so the paramedics can still find them, just away from this building. Is everything okay there? Takada darted his head from the source of the voice. It seemed to be a family walking by. My friend is having an allergic reaction, and I need to move him someplace else. The man stepped up to offer a hand, but the smaller stopped him. Wait, did you just come from this restaurant? He pointed to the building that Yukai was leaned against. If he seemed to react to just the smell from the door opening, he worried it would only worsen this way. No, why? He is allergic to shellfish. The man smiled and approached the two. Then I can assure you that I am safe to be around him. Now, where do we need to take him? After moving him across the street and a few more buildings down, Yukai seemed to breathe a little easier, yet still had some difficulties. He hated the burning itch the most. But that wasn't the thing that most concerned him. Even though his body and immune system was rejecting even a 100-foot square radius of shellfish, he was more worried about the smaller. This surely must have been mortifying. Yes, he is a teacher and might occasionally cross paths with a situation like this a time or two before, but this seemed different. He felt like he was going to vomit all over again. Sweat dripped from his brow and he was slightly wheezing for air, internally thankful that he heard the sirens in the distance. Keishin, just hold on a bit longer, okay? The man from before had already left after making sure there was help on the way, so it just left them. The blonde slipped from the building and let his head plop onto the smaller shoulder. I don't like this. He hated it. It was terrifying and he was scared. He hated not having control of his well-being, and the fact he was so close to death was enough to make his blood run cold. I know, but they are almost here. He let his hand rest on top of Yukai's head, readjusting his headband, and ran his fingers through the damp blonde locks in a comforting way. He felt so tired, his vision would haze in and out, and he held onto his chest that felt so tight, like there was an iron grip on his lungs, and he was breathing through a straw. He groaned and nuzzled his head into the crook of Takada's neck. The smaller took the initiative to glance at the hives intruding on the taller's skin. This was bad. Your face. Does it hurt? No, but it's tingly and itches. Feels numb too. He grasped onto his chest, feeling a sharp pain and swell, and gasped, but was soon relieved. He hadn't even noticed the paramedics arrive, and it was the same whenever they shot the medicine through his leg. All he knew and felt was relief. It was as if the polluted and toxic air turned into pure, blissful oxygen. That was a close one. Thank goodness we arrived in time. What do you mean, in time? The paramedic turned to Takada and questioned. Are you the one who called? Yes, but that doesn't matter. What was happening? He sighed, signaling his partners to go get a stretcher ready so he could properly explain the situation. Your friend here was close to going into anaphylactic shock. It was a close call. It would have been much less of a delicate time frame if he had his EpiPen. Takada felt his mind go blank. Did he almost witness Yukai die? But he's okay now, right? What we gave him is a similar version of what he takes, which is epinephrine. But even when that is administered, he still needs some medical treatment. But yes, now that we've passed that stage, and as long as we give him the help he needs, he will be perfectly fine. Takada just nodded his head, backing away and letting them take Yukai away. And he walked away. A day had passed, and Takada holed himself in his room. He knew he should be in the waiting room, ready to run into Yukai's room to be by his side. But the guilt gnawed at him. He didn't feel worthy enough to be in that seat. He didn't deserve anything from Yukai after this. He poisoned him. He almost killed Yukai. It's all his fault. His eyes were now swollen and red from sobbing into his pillow. He didn't bother getting up until he heard the front door of the apartment open. He thought it was an imposter, but softened upon hearing Yukai's voice. He jumped out of bed and ran down the hallway, meeting the coach halfway. The blonde was there, and even looked healthy. Definitely more so than before. Hey. The taller dared to take a step forward, but Takada responded with a step backwards. Wait, stop. You're okay, right? Yeah, I'm fine. But you? Stop. It hurt whenever he woke up. The teacher was nowhere in sight, not even in the hospital, and it hurt when he was released and went home alone without a single word from the latter. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have forced you to go. What? No, you never forced me into anything. He took multiple steps, with Takada stepping backwards until he was cornered and hit the wall. Listen, you didn't do anything wrong. I promise. You did everything right. It was my fault for not even telling you. I was about to, but didn't get the chance. But... Yukai snapped his head up, hearing Takada's broken voice crack. If I had told you where we were going beforehand, you would have... He swiped at his eyes, yet the tears came down anyways. I almost killed you. I hurt you. You should be angry. Hate me. He was cut off, feeling the taller's arm wrap around his waist and held onto him tightly. I don't hate you, Atetsu. Anything but that. I love you. That's what he wanted to say, yet oddly enough still didn't have the courage. But there was one thing he could subtly admit. For you, I'd ruined myself 1,000,000 times over. Takeda held his breath, finding warmth spread throughout his cheeks. See? Now the tears have stopped. He let out a low chuckle, wiping his crush's tears. Maybe one day, they could be something more. Yo? What the actual? I didn't think it was possible to go wrong with this prank. Now I'm scared. Wait, who else has allergies? Shouldn't we keep that a secret for a little longer? For the audience, of course. This bitch really broke the fourth wall. On a much more serious note, Coach, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I was slightly concerned after it took so long. Yeah, I admit, I didn't think much of it at the moment. Why didn't you confess though? It really seemed like the moment. That is true. Well, I can't explain it. It just didn't feel like the right moment. No, I get it. I made my moment special for my precious Kenma. Yeah, he dragged us into it. By the way, since we are on the topic, I'm going next. Wait, a volunteer? Yeah, deal with it. Don't get Sumu involved. No promises. Alright, that is officially the end of the second part of the Allergy prank featuring DaiSuga and UkaTake. Which one was your favorite? In a way, I guess both of these are kind of gone wrong. I mean, DaiSuga kind of ended on a nasty note, and UkaTake actually went wrong. So, thank you so much for watching. As always, if you'd like to be kept up to date, check out any of my social medias. I hope that you all have a wonderful day or evening.